A headache is relentlessly thumping against the back of my head as I push open the door to the 22nd corner. Apart from that, I'm perfectly calm. He says, and I don't fully believe. After venting on Rin all that anger that I had bottled inside, it felt like a great weight had been lifted from my heart. The tension that had grasped my mind for the past few weeks faded away without leaving even a shadow behind. I mean, on one hand, I kinda get it, but on the other hand, I don't know. I'm not really the kind of guy who really, likes to yell at people, I guess. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure just how good of an idea or smart or... I'm blanking on the word, but like how good of an idea it was. Beneficial, maybe. In this nearly zen-like state of enlightenment, I realized that perhaps it was a bad idea to yell at her like that. I really meant it, but what good does blowing up like that do? Nothing. I'm not like that. I don't normally yell at people. I don't know why I did yesterday. So I keep feeling really guilty about it and wanting to take my words back, but it's not really something you can do. Rin is probably upset too, even more than my own behavior. Her reaction shocked me. I always thought of her as unchanging, detached from her surroundings, so that seeing my yelling get her so upset felt out of place. Well, that's just kind of what I've been trying to say this whole time. Like, I don't think that she's not unfeeling. I just don't know if she has the physical capabilities to express herself the way that other people do. I'm not to that extent, but I have that same kind of issue. I have a hard time verbalizing my thoughts and feelings sometimes. And for some people, that's significantly more so. I was just kind of under the impression that, she felt just as happy or sad or scared or angry as anybody else. She just shows it differently. I wonder if she understands how I feel. In Rin's world, everything seems to be so absolute and subjective. Absolutely subjective. As if she was completely unable to see things from other points of view other than her own. But ultimately, is anyone able to do it? Maybe objectively and altruism are just illusions for people who like to think of themselves as compassionate. Just like art is an illusion for people who think reality is merely a veil for something greater. Even when you stop thinking that the world revolves around you or start thinking outside of the mythical box, you're just inside another bigger box that you can't escape. Maybe that ultimately makes her like the rest of us. I step through the door to find a galley. I keep calling it a galley. That's a boat thing. A gallery full of illusioned people. Despite Sai's remarks during my earlier visits, I always thought it was a very spacious, but now when it's crowded like this, it almost looks positively cramped. I immediately notice Sai standing in the middle of a lively discussion, busily chatting away with some old gentleman. She's actually pretty tall and kind of cool looking, so she stands out in the crowd. Also, she's the only one that doesn't look like they're made out of TV static, so, that made it kind of easy to find her too. There are a few dozen wine glasses laid on the tables along the back wall, filled with burgundy liquid. A vast majority of the guests are sipping from their own glasses, feeling a sense of self-superiority over the rest of the world, as is the case. The socialites and art connoisseurs are mingling happily, exchanging mild opinions about Rin's art, which seem to be a secondary object of interest for most. I feel distance, excluded from the other people here. And I can't claim even at a stretch to be a social chameleon, so this situation is quite unnerving. Since I don't blend into a crowd at all, I just fake that I do, trying to look as cool and smooth as I can. So, I basically failed as badly as anybody possibly could. I wonder how Rin is handling all this. If I had to wager a guess, I don't think she's probably even here. If it was me, I'd be quite freaked out. Throwing the anxiety aside, I try to carefully navigate through the crowd, stealing peeks at the framed paintings now hanging on the walls. Rin's exhibition takes about half the gallery's wall space. Why am I having so much trouble with that one word? Some paintings are less familiar than others, but I recognize most of them. I've always been kind of the mind that even if somebody says they're making something with no intention of it meaning something, it still kind of means something. And I gotta be entirely real with you. I can't help but feel like that there kind of has to be some sort of symbolic meaning behind some of these pictures I'm looking at right now. Oh, dudes, look at that one! Oh, I don't know if I'm reading too much into that one, but, what looks to be two people on the sides of a giant cavern, or, a giant space between them. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if that's meant to be a thing or not, but And then there's just the fractured face of the one on the left. Oh. Oh. Some I've seen being created at the club meetings after all, or remember from the time when Rin was choosing her portfolio. I note that a couple of the unfinished paintings are framed in on the wall as well. Maybe that's what they call coincidental art? Even Rin's failures, if you can call them that, become exhibits of her skill. Quite paradoxical. She herself is nowhere to be seen, which is strange because even though it's crowded, the gallery is pretty small. It's fine, sort of. I don't know how to face her after yesterday. Maybe I shouldn't have even come. Quite frankly, I don't know if I would have been able to. But I promised various people, Rin included, that I would, so... Damn, it sounds like I do things I do because some kind of instinctual properness compels me to, not because it would be sensible or not. I sneak closer to the side to wait for a lull in the conversation so I can chat her up too. Even though her voice is almost completely buried under the general background noise, I hear bits and pieces of her talking about Rin. Yeah, she is a high schooler at a local school. Even though she's graduating next year, I'm sure various art schools would be interested in. Yeah, I thought it'd be interesting to have an exhibition of someone who's still in early stages of development. It's so strange. It's like Rin is some kind of mini celebrity, even though this is nothing but a small exhibition opening at a small art gallery of a small town. In fact, there's a friend of mine from... It's Asao! My eavesdropping is interrupted by a familiar voice and a familiar slap to the back. I don't need to guess the source of either, even without turning around. Hi, Emmy. Well, I'll be danged. It's actually so great to see you again, Emmy. I was worried it was gonna be the art teacher. It's not, it's Emmy. Oh, God, I could hug you. Hi. Are you like a representative of the art club or something? I don't see anyone else from this school here. I don't know, really. I guess I am if that's the case. What about you? What about me? You didn't think I'm interested in art? Is that it, Asao? No, that's not what well, maybe a little if you put it that way. I mean, even though you hang out with Rin, I've never heard you talk about art with her, so... Emmy huffs and looks around her, looking discontented. It's true, I don't get it at all, but she came to my track meet, so I thought it's only fair to return the favor. She leans closer, trying to look confidential, but only managing to look conspiring. Do you get art? No, I don't. At all. My emphasizing headshake draws a giggle and a cheery headshake of her own out of Emmy. Me neither. Hey, let's go talk with Rin. I bet you haven't yet because I haven't either. Oh boy. Come on. I'd hide behind Emmy, but she's like 4'9". Before she has a chance to forcefully drag me to Rin, Nomiya appears behind her with Rin in his tow. She's not dressed for the occasion, instead opting for her usual school uniform and unkempt hair. Maybe her natural look is what suits her the best. I can't imagine her in anything else if I'm being honest. Hello, teacher. Hi, Rin. Unfazed, Emmy greets the teacher cheerfully, causing him to turn around and look down confusedly. Who are you? I'm Emmy from school class 4. Don't you remember? She looks positively shocked at the prospect that there could be a person who doesn't know her. Oh, sorry. You're in the same class as Suzuka is, right? Yeah. You'll have to pardon me. I have trouble remembering students who don't take art. Oh, don't mind. Hi, Rin. Hello. Congratulations for your super cool art thing. I'm sure you'll be a big hit. She throws her arms into the air for boisterous emphasis, almost hitting me in the face. Oh, look, Asao came too. Oh, did you really have to point me out? Rin doesn't look at me, nor does she greet me, and you know what? That's fair. Congratulations, Rin. She keeps averting her gaze, pointedly looking at her sandals. Oblivious to the tension between us and ignorant of what happened yesterday, Emmy keeps on blabbering about this and that to an unresponsive Rin. I guess she's used to not getting much out of her at times. Before long, Nomiya and Sai turn to Rin, introducing her. Expecting it, I catch the second of confusion when the guest see her arms. Sai is luckily on the ball and briefly explains about our school. Doubtful faces quickly change to curious. Would you mind telling us something about your art? Oh, good luck with that noise. I thought the development is quite easily noticeable. What do you yourself think of the differences between the older and more current works? It's quite rare for someone so young to dabble into abstraction. It would have been interesting to see how you work. Oh, definitely. I assume you use your feet? Must have been a great trouble to learn it. You should be proud. Oh, hello. Will you be pursuing a career as an artist after school? She's bombarded with so many questions she can't even hope to answer all of them. Maybe that's for the best. Rin tends to talk nonsense more than occasionally. Perhaps, yeah, but I also feel like she isn't good, dude. Where do you get your ideas? That's the fifth worst. Rin keeps stumbling with her words, looking more and more vexed by the expectant inquiries. Everyone is waiting for her to say something, but she looks like a cat got her tongue. Each question piling up just adds to her distress. I fail to hear the question, that's the proverbial one too many. It's like a motor stalling. Oh, no. Rin just freezes for a long second until she falls on her knees, hitting the floor ungracefully like a sack of potatoes. Are you alright? I don't know. Tezuka, what's wrong, girl? I don't know what's wrong. A terrible silence falls upon the people gathered around Rin. Everyone is petrified, not knowing how to react to her sudden seizure or something. I think she just, in her own way, had her own version of a panic attack. She breathes with deep, trembling gasps as she was running out of air, staring ahead of herself with hollow eyes. Seeing that nobody does anything, I force myself to step to Rin and lift her up from the floor, letting her lean against me to keep standing. Would you like some fresh air? Okay, let's go outside for a bit. I don't even wait for her to answer before grasping her shoulder and pulling her past the stunned-looking Nomiya, Sai, Emmy, and guests. Excuse us. I don't know if it's a good idea, but if it's a good idea for me to be doing this, but it's a good idea for her to get away from all this. I can tell you that much. The cool evening breeze hits my face at the door. I let go of Rin, and she leans against the stone wall, trying to catch her breath. Are you all right? I couldn't say anything. Rin's still not looking at me, so I look away too. The street lights and colored neon signs twist my vision into a blur of near blindness, forcing me to look back. At least she talks, even if she's not directing her words to me. What did you want to say? Maybe both of us can imagine that we're talking to an invisible friend. I don't know. Something that would have meant something? The silence lasts for a long time. I don't feel comfortable being alone with Rin. I'm not good at imagining things that don't exist, or that things that exist don't. We should go back in. The guests I invited her in there. They probably want to meet and talk to you. You know, ask you questions and stuff about those paintings you worked so hard for. I don't want them to ask me questions like that. I can never say the right things. What do you want then? That someone wouldn't have to ask questions for me. Oh, from me. Oh. It's weird. This feels like both an obvious and yet incredibly unobvious answer to me. Like, I just don't think, like, well, why aren't you happy about this? That's not something 1.5 million other people would definitely say about the given situation. After everything I've gone through with her, it just... I mean, if nothing else, even if I didn't feel like this was the more right thing to say, this feels like the blatantly wrong thing to say, you know what I mean? If you found someone like that, then what? Do you really think that it would be some kind of be-all, end-all thing? Star-crossed lovers and happily ever after? My question is met with a blank stare, the darkness in her eyes unfazed by the thinly veiled bitterness. No, I don't think that. But at least then I wouldn't have to be alone. She whispers the words to the lights of the town, but I hear them anyway. I shouldn't have done this. Not yet. The exhibition? She nods and closes her eyes, breathing calmly out as if to prove she can, and then continues talking to herself. Why? Wrong conjunction of the planets? No, not that. I double-checked, and I got up with the left foot, and did everything else left. Right. It's me. I was wrong. She stands straight and stretches before stepping past me out into the street. Wait, where are you going? She stops in her tracks and turns around, looking at me quizzically. School. I'm leaving. What? Why? Because I want to be me. Rin walks off, leaving me behind, utterly confused. Rin! But something she said really touched me. Or maybe it was just the way that she said it. Maybe it was the fact that she said it. I want to say something back to her, but I forget this feeling again. Before I forget this feeling again. As if granting me a wish, Rin stops in her tracks. She doesn't turn around, just keeps waiting for me to say what I want to, even though I didn't have time to think what. Rin, listen. I don't believe you have to be alone. Even if you never meet anyone like that. I don't know if she heard my words, but either way, she doesn't react in any way. For the final time, she starts walking away from the gallery. So, where's Tezuka? I can only shake my head, but it doesn't seem to be a sufficient answer. I have to say something. She ran away. What? The horrific realization spreads on his face like wildfire. This is a fiasco. Catastrophe. What's this girl thinking? The most important event of her life, and she just runs off? And you, why didn't you stop her? I'm gonna hold you personally responsible. And I never really did get a great feeling on this dude. Sai interrupts him, holding her hands up calmly. It's good she intervened. The teacher was starting to get a few weird looks from the nearby guests. Now, Shinichi, she's probably just had stage fright. I don't know her as well as you people do, but I did get the image that she is somewhat peculiar. This kind of thing can happen. It'll be fine. I'll explain that she suddenly became ill. The guests will surely understand. But look around you. Everyone seems to be rather happy with their free wine and chit-chat. The guests will be fine, but we are missing on opportunities here. Networking, making contacts and acquaintances. That's just not Rin's scene. Like, my God. Do you know anything about her? Other than the fact that she paint good? Because that's honestly the overwhelming impression I've been getting from you for a very long time now, and it's really starting to bug me. As the adults keep arguing about something that can't be helped, Emmy tugs my sleeve to get my attention. She doesn't look very happy either. Come on. Where? We're gonna go find Rin and kick her ass. What? I can't believe it. She's so stupid. Rin, how could she do this? I'm telling you, she doesn't have a bit of common sense in her head. Emmy is seriously angry, only missing steam rising from her ears. I guess understand Emmy. She is that kind of person. Give up has never felt like a part of her vocabulary, and maybe she feels it shouldn't be a part of anyone's vocabulary. It's probably best to leave her alone for tonight. What? Are you a Rin expert now? I'm not gonna call myself an expert, but I do consider myself to be somewhat of a scholar at this point. She takes a firm stance and puts her hands on her hips confrontationally. It's like she wants to pick a fight with me too. No, I don't think that's even possible in the first place. I just don't think kicking her ass would do her any good. My melancholic remarks surprisingly works as Emmy slumps her shoulders a little in size. I know that. You do? The last time I did that, it changed nothing. The ride back to school in an empty late-night bus is silent. Both of us kept staring at the lights flashing past the windows without saying a word. The nightly grounds are quiet, lit only by the wan moon and yellow lampposts. Never heard of a wan moon. We say our goodnights in front of my dormitory. Emmy, reflexively clenching her fists, compels me to ensure that she won't assault Rin the moment I let her out of my sight. Promise me to not go scold her. She looks up at me, her eyes again flaring with anger that I match with as calming a stare as I can. It's only easy to face an angry woman if you're not the target of her ire. After a minute of the mismatched staring contest, she sighs and shakes her head in defeat. You're too nice, Asao. Did you know that? Hints of a smile are tugging the corners of her mouth as she says that, and she seems a little more relaxed. What a sudden change of mood. Maybe she wasn't as angry as it seemed to begin with. Maybe her mood changes easily. Luckily, I actually know Emmy rather well at this juncture, so I think I get her. I wish I could pat her head. If I was, I would have let you have your way. Does that mean you're only nice to Rin? Both of us are hiding our concern behind empty jokes, but at least it puts me in a good mood. Emmy waggles her eyebrows with a half-amused smirk trying to push my buttons. Not gonna work. No, it just means I'm not nice only to you. Hey! Good night, Emmy. I do not know where this is going, nor do I know if I've made the right decisions along the way. I have deep concerns. The last day before summer vacation is waning slowly. Right, that's right. I forgot how Shizune's route basically lasted an entire dang school year, and yeah, this one I guess is gonna end before that even happens, or at least somewhere around there. Wow. Science is the final exam of the trimester, and then we are free. The collective yearning for liberty is almost palpable in the classroom, even though the weather seems a tad cloudy. It might rain today, who knows? I've already finished the test because it was pretty easy, so I'm doodling lazily on the flip side of the paper, waiting for Muto to call me. Wow. I'm just kind of taking in the doodles. Even things as small as this can actually mean something, I think. But yeah, I can see all sorts of peoples. It's actually kind of neat. It also prevents Misha from trying to covertly look at my answers over my shoulder. She might fool the inattentive teacher, but I can tell she's trying to look. I guess it's her best bet at passing the test. Doesn't make me feel any mercy though, so I just ignore her and look around me. It's quiet. The only sounds in the classroom are the quiet shuffling of papers and Muto's constant coughing. It makes my awareness of the surroundings slowly drift to the backstage of consciousness, giving room to the other things. Vacation, huh? Some people will stay at the school even over the holidays. Some will go back to their families. I don't know what to do. I should go buy a train ticket for my trip back home, but I can't bring myself to do it. I think I'm gonna get a call from home again. Mom's gonna pester me about when I'm coming back, and I'm not gonna know what to answer. This is really lousy. In the current state of things with Rin, it feels like I can't just bail out here and pretend we're through. Now she has other problems of her own. I thought the exhibition opening would give her a breather, but I was sorely mistaken. The tangle just seems to thicken. A sharp knock on the door interrupts the quiet but frantic mood of the last 15 minutes of the exam. Come in. Okay. The opening door reveals the art teacher, who steps in with his jacket swirling around him as though in a gust of wind. He glances at Muto, who glances back at him. Okay. A frown spreads simultaneously on both of their faces as the men measure each other with their gazes. Excuse me, could I borrow Mr. Nakai for a moment? Muto, I'm going to humbly ask you to not let me be alone with that man. Excuse me, Mr. Nomiya, but we're in the middle of an exam here. A chilly atmosphere suddenly spreads in the middle of the summer afternoon as the two men try to stare each other down. This is urgent, and it seems that Nakai is already finished. Both men turn to look at me, staring at me like a pair of basilisks trying to petrify a tasty snack. It's true, I've been idle for a good while now, so Nomiya's right, but... Nakai, would you like to check your answers one more time? Muto speaks with an odd intonation, weighting certain words as if trying to send a message. It basically as if to say, do you want to be involved with this, or would you like an out? I'm helping here. And I appreciate that. The pressure from their stares makes me rapidly shake my head, which is apparently interpreted as an answer of some sort. Very well, Nakai. Go with Mr. Nomiya, if you please. I don't feel safe doing that. Take your bag with you and bring your test paper to my desk. You have a nice vacation. You too, teacher. The entire world, well, at least the classroom, seems to hold its breath just for me. Putting the exam on hold until I stand up, collect my stuff, and walk to the door. I can feel the stares in the back of my neck. My classmates probably think I'm in for some detention or something on the last day of school before summer vacation. I don't know what the teacher wants from me, but I guess it probably is not detention, and also it probably has something to do with Rin again. He doesn't take me anywhere, contenting himself with the hallway as it's completely abandoned. Do you know where Tezuka is? So, she's trying to avoid the teacher. Par for the course, probably. I wonder if she realizes that she can't avoid dealing with this indefinitely. I have no idea. Have probably asked in her homeroom next door. Of course I have. I've searched every nook and cranny of this blat's school and the girls' dorm. You're the last one to see her since yesterday, and you're her friend. Work with me here, aren't you worried? I am, but I don't know what I could do. I did something incomprehensible yesterday, even for her. I don't know if I would call that incomprehensible at all. She seemed really confused. Maybe she just wants some time to think then. I got the feeling that she had second thoughts about having that exhibition. Or something. She didn't really explain what was wrong. What second thoughts? I don't know, I just got that feeling. I'm being a little dishonest with the teacher, but this is not something I should be meddling with. It came to me, yes. Why? Maybe he thinks I'm some kind of confidant of Rin's? I don't think I can help with this matter. I mean, we unquestionably understand her on a deeper level than he does. And I'm not even gonna say we know her, understand her that deeply either. The teacher huffs and scratches his head in confusion. What's up with that girl? There's so unlike her. She's always been so goal-driven. Goal-driven? Those don't really strike me as the words to describe Rin with. Yeah, I was gonna say that, but I was hoping that Hisao would beat me to it. To me, she always felt obsessive at best. I don't mean to be rude, but wasn't it you who pushed Rin to that direction in the first place? Her goal is my goal. That is a mentor's job. I guess so. I just don't know if painting can make her happy. It's pretty preposterous of you to say, Nakai. He suddenly sounds pretty irate. Did I say something stupid? Well, I don't know if you said something stupid, but you said something he considers stupid. You don't understand, do you? It's not a question of happiness. For every gain, there is a sacrifice to be made. There is no free lunch, but would I let the girl waste away her talent if she had a moment of doubt? Never! Painting is work just like any other. Tezuka might make it look like child's play to you, but she's worked hard every day to make her art. To become extraordinary, one has to make an extraordinary effort. The more the teacher talks, the more I feel that Rin doesn't even like that, even though I have no idea what she thinks. Or doesn't think that. I can very well understand why she would sacrifice her summer vacation and make up for the lost classes and exams to get a chance of showing her art. I don't think that's why she did that. This is the path she has taken, and to go all the way, that's not easy. I know she's young and things are hard for her, just like for all the kids here in the school, but that's no excuse. He's finished. But, do you have anything like what art is to Tezuka? No. That's right, I only have vague ideas of my future. No goal to shoot for, no dream to blindly reach for. I joined the art club in search of something I could be interested in, to get inspired by. Did I find something like that? All I found in the end was Rin. No, I don't have a passion like that. Then you can't understand. His flat statement allows no counter-argument. But she might not understand even herself. Still, I carry on arguing out of spite, if nothing else. How could she not? She's been at it so hard for the past few weeks that she put off even coming to school. Not to say anything about attending class. Don't be ridiculous. I don't think I'm being ridiculous. But as I have no rebuttal, Namiya seems to consider this one his win. At any rate, the opening was quite successful despite Tezuka hardly showing up. Many people were interested in her art, and one piece was even sold for a reasonable price. Well, that's nice, isn't it? Yes, it's fantastic news. I hoped that Tezuka would come to her senses when she heard about this, but... He sighs and takes off his glasses, cleaning them against his jacket before putting them on his nose again. And at any rate, I should be going. There is this mess to be settled with Sai and everyone. If you see Tezuka, please ask her to come see me. Otherwise, have a nice vacation. Thanks. Yeah, I really don't think that guy understands Rin at all. I feel like it's just, student good at art. That's about all I'm getting out of this, apparently. After he's disappeared around the corner, I ponder where Rin could really be. The worry tree? It feels like she has not one, but at least a half dozen of these secret places. I balance between the desire to solve this tangle and to drop it for good. The disused classroom is just a few feet away. What to do? As I push open the door, only the shadows greet me from the inside. Hey there. Oh, well. Heh. Those are a bit better than even I. Yeah, but I guess he's right. She does have a few places. Makes sense to go to this one first. Oh, the music. She's standing in the middle of the sunlit room, peering through the gaps of the curtains out into the yard. Like so often before, she doesn't start or jump, just calmly waits for me to make the first move. As if she's trying to become a permanent part of the furniture. The teacher is looking for you. A blank look over her shoulder is all I get, accompanied by a cryptic non-expression on her face. Are you looking for me too? No, I already found you, didn't I? Did you? She furrows her brow, looking so puzzled that it makes me wonder if the question was asked in all seriousness. Maybe it was. Are you talking metaphorically now? Do you mean like eels, caves, and dark, stormy nights? I'm bad at talking like that. The abruptly ending greeting gives me the chance to close the door behind me and sit down on a dust-covered desktop. Rin stays standing, but at least she turns around. I soon wish she didn't, though. So oppressive is her expectant stare. This is her place, and I'm an intruder, although a tolerated one. Despite that, she still waits for me to say something. If only I knew what. The sunlit silence presses me towards decisions. I came here without really thinking what I would do, apart from delivering Nomiya's short message in case Rin was here. She was, and now I don't know what else I want to say. What else I should say. I hover between my two options for a moment. Rin being troubled troubles me too. It's a surprising revelation, almost as big as realizing that she really is troubled was. Nothing I can do would probably help, and I might be partially to blame too. Doesn't mean I should just wash my hands of her? Didn't think so. So, what's wrong? Nothing. She starts to turn away again, as if trying to physically exit a conversation she doesn't want to have. Rin, stop trying to dodge me or I'll leave. Okay. Do you want me to leave? Are you still angry? It took us, or was it only me, 10 seconds to swamp the conversation into this. I wish we could erase the past, or failing that, forget all about it. I wished for that more than once in the last few months. Let's put that aside for the time being, alright? If you say so. I do. So, what's wrong? Sai and Nomiya were not too happy that you just ran off yesterday. Left them in quite a pinch, but I suppose the teacher wants some kind of an explanation. Seemed like you just threw out everything you'd worked for, and I don't get why. Did I make a mistake? My reprimanding and her flat answer goes so much against the usual expectations and presumed interactions that it might just well be somebody else talking. Neither of us is like we used to be. This stiff, constricting feeling I get every time I look at Rin nowadays seems to be mirrored in her own behavior. I hate things that go irreparably wrong. Ever since February, I've hated them. What can I say? Her question is trailed by a compelling, quizzical stare that makes me sigh and frown. Conversations nobody wants to have are the worst. I don't know. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it probably was pretty stupid. She responds with a sigh of her own, although hers is not nearly as heavy as mine was. I just couldn't do it. But why? What's wrong? A pause, a furrowed brow, a quiet voice. Let it be, Hisao. I don't think I can really explain it in a way that would make sense. Yeah, Rin doesn't want to have this conversation either. That may be for the better. But how rare of her to admit that even she has some kind of limits. I always thought Rin was all but ignorant of her tendencies to get distracted. So much so that she inadvertently obfuscates everything she says. Never explain anything in a way that would make sense. Nobody else has ever asked me to. I guess that's how it is. But I always wanted to make sense of you. To find out who you are. I still want to, can't you see? I know you can't. But I do. Is that why I keep this up? It pains you as much as it pains me. It's unlikely to be of any use to you, either. We did things and said things that can't be undone. It's as if you and me being close to each other just hurts us both, but we still deliberately keep doing it. Isn't that silly? Even now, I can see how you force yourself to respond even though you owe me nothing. Even if it's hard to talk about things like this. Why? Why is it that you paint? Because I don't know what else I could do. It's like this feeling that there's no choice. That it's the only possibility. Like when there are only watermelon-flavored popsicles left in the store, but you need to eat a popsicle. Her poor metaphor aside, she didn't really answer anything. If possible, this makes even less sense than not knowing. But if you don't want to paint... Not like that. You had to come to the school even though you probably didn't want to have a heart attack. She pauses, frowning as if something in what she said didn't please her. At least I think you wouldn't. Her careful follow-up is followed and turned by another shorter pause with another smaller frown. Would you like to have a heart attack? No, I wouldn't, and I didn't want to. But you're doing fine, aren't you? Or are you still sad about it? Rin's question makes me realize that I haven't really thought about my illness for weeks. Aside from chugging down my medication every day, there's been no need to concern myself with my broken heart, which I'm only thankful for, really. Getting to know new people, a new school, a new town, a new life, almost caught me and made the past fade away. No. I guess even I can't dwell on that past indefinitely. See? Even watermelon doesn't really taste bad if you have to eat it. Her half-nonsensical closure seems to put an end to the subject in Rin's mind, so I just nod in uncertain confirmation. I think I get her. I don't think that this is too terribly hard to figure out. I mean, but I'm also bad at saying things. There are two kinds of silences. Awkward ones that you want to break, and comfortable ones that you don't mind. The first kind is bad because it makes your thoughts go awry like mine do now. Looking at Rin makes me feel bad. I don't want to feel like this. Looking at Rin makes me feel exhausted. I really tried my best. She tried to. I have no idea. But we ended up like this, and she ended up screwing up her exhibition opening. Feels like we're at a dead end. There's no direction to continue to. I reached out for her yesterday, thinking it would be the last time. She walked away. I want to be me. What the heck does that even mean? Rin, if anyone, is most definitively herself. I feel kind of relieved that I'm not the one to blame, but this still grates on my mind. Why did she run away? It didn't make sense yesterday. It doesn't make sense today. The things she said feel like they should make sense, but they just don't to me. You know, about the thing you just said? Which one of them? Painting. Sai said something like that to me before. That a true artist does not paint because she wants to, but because she must. And I've been wondering about what she said. Why do artists have to paint? My question is probably pretty stupid. At least Ren looks at me in the blank way that seems to say so. I don't know. Am I an artist? Well, you paint stuff and you have an exhibition too. And say you qualify. I think I still don't know, but okay. The thinking pause that follows seems to last for half an eternity. Unlike most people, Ren doesn't flavor her thinking pauses by body language or saying like or anything. I've noticed that I might prefer her way. The usual way even annoys me, as if people were so infatuated by the sound of their own voice that they just have to keep making some noise even when they are just thinking what they could say next. Rin just comes to a full stop while she's thinking. It's disconcerting, because reacting to people spacing out is always hard, but it comes off as less obnoxious. I think I want someone to see what's inside me. Not the way doctors and serial killers do. The way that doesn't make me feel lonely. This is what you call metaphorical, you see. Please don't lecture me about self-evident things. It's not self-evident that this is self-evident. So you present a painting to someone and expect it to magically see a glimpse of your soul? It's not like that. It's just a little like that, but not really. Don't you understand? I do, and I don't. You know, I feel a little bit of despair every time you ask that question. What question? About whether I understand you or not. She seems almost surprised at my clarification. No, it's not really a question. It's one of those kind that you don't have to answer. Rhetorical. Yeah, that's the word. A question that's not a question is a rhetorical question. How nice. That reminds me. It doesn't really make sense. What kind of question is one that isn't a question? A rhetorical one. What kind of an answer is an answer that doesn't answer anything? Is that a rhetorical question? You're not funny. But if you don't like it, would you like me to say something else instead? I don't have any good ones, though. How about, your pants are on fire? This can be our secret language. Rin's honest-to-goodness silliness, made twice more ridiculous by the fact that I know she's dead serious, derails me like it always does. It's like some kind of a safety lock to prevent me from becoming too much of a worrywart, dragging even my own thoughts off the ground where they should be. It makes me smile confusedly, but only on the inside. Even though the corners of my mouth are not drawing into a grin, I'm still impressed by her ease of wrecking any attempt at being too serious. Could she will so, forget and ignore things that bug her? Things that bother her? Could she, should she will so, be free of whatever burden being her means? Or am I the only one who feels burdened by being myself? No thanks. But still, the times when I feel that I am on the same page as you are pretty rare. It feels like there's this huge gap, and sometimes you just go to the other side, and I don't. Kind of like the painting. Have any way to reach to you from where I am? It's my general impression, and I could be completely off base here. You're more than welcome to say that I'm wrong, but I've been getting the impression that Rin really does legitimately care about Hisao. A great deal. She keeps making attempts to communicate with him, even though it keeps going horribly wrong, because in her heart, she wants Hisao to be somebody who understands her. but like the painting, there's a chasm, and neither of them have any earthly clue how to get onto the other side. Whether Hisao being able to understand Rin, or Rin being able to convey herself to Hisao. That's the impression I've been given, at least. Rin strikes me as a... She strikes me as a gal with a ton of self-doubt. I say that as, you know, also basically an artist. It's not exactly uncommon for people in our circle to have that kind of thing, you know? She doesn't know who she is or who she needs to be, what it is she wants, or how to even go about getting it once she's figured it out. She's just doing what she's doing because it's what she can do, and I've been there. I feel like I get it, even if the words aren't coming out the way that I need them to, or even for her, I think I do understand. If Rin is anything like me, I feel like what might be her preferred coping mechanism is to simply try to not dwell or think about the things that are troubling her, you know? Like, anything that might be going on and that she doesn't understand and is causing her problems, if she just stops thinking about it and just goes on as she expects the world to, you know, for her to be. You know, everyone expects, oh, you know, silly old Rin, just have her be that way. And if she keeps being that, everything will eventually just, you know, start to make sense, even though, no matter what, it doesn't seem like that's happening. Again, like I've said in so many other stories up to this point, I'm not a psychologist. I can't say I know these things. I can only relate them to things that I feel like I do understand. And that's just been my general impression. It's like you and I... It's like you are in some completely different... It's like you are in some completely different place at times, even though you're right here. That's right. There's an insurmountable discontinuity, an imaginary glass wall that blocks comprehension from happening. There might be such a gap between any two people, but with Rin, it feels more tangible. Rin does not react to my thoughts, not to the ones I uttered aloud, nor the ones I did not. It's even worse with art. I'm not very good at art. I admit that. I joined the art club because I thought it would be interesting. And I guess it is. I like art. I like your art too, but just like with you, I can't comprehend it. And I'm pretty sure nobody really can. That seems to worry her slightly. Do you think so? Yeah. I guess that art is meant to be interpreted, not understood. That's how I'd put it. Maybe the only way Rin feels like she has any chance of being able to actually convey her thoughts and feelings are through her art. But, I mean, that's just the thing. Art is entirely subjective. Interpreted. That's a sad thought. I guess it might feel like one. Does it make you feel sad for yourself? Rin thinks about this for a while and then shakes her head surprisingly vehemently. The first thing she focuses her eyes on afterward is me. Both of these things make me glad and relieved. That's good, isn't it? Anyway, you should go see the teacher and apologize properly. I think he's worried about you. Can you do that? This time she nods her head, only it's not as vehemently. The hallway is empty, almost intimidating. Nomiya's office is the art classroom at the other end of the third-floor hallway. Her steps echo disturbingly. The atmosphere is unlike on a normal afternoon. Feels like the school knows that nobody will be coming back for a month, too. The door is open, but not very inviting. I'll, wait outside. Nodding barely noticeably, Rin strides in without stopping and naturally without knocking. Maybe that's why it takes a few seconds before I hear the teacher's voice from inside. There you are! Hello. A conflict arises. Should I stay here or go somewhere else? I'm not sure if I even want to eavesdrop on them. Manners lose to curiosity, and so I stay close enough to listen in. Their voices echo in the hallway, but no matter. There's nobody around save for me. Dear girl, what on earth were you thinking leaving like that on the big night? I couldn't say anything. Compared to Nomiya's scolding tone, Rin sounds awfully quiet and withdrawn. Her words seem to drown under his. I have to say, I'm very disappointed in you, Tezuka. It was no good at all. Never mind all the things I did for you, but what about Sai? What about all the other guests who wanted to meet you? There was nobody, even Asao. You've embarrassed us very badly, Tezuka. Reputation is what counts. Surely you know that. It's all right. I don't need it. Don't need? What do you think you know? Brennan's replies only seemed to agitate the teacher more, his voice rising with every sentence. The path of an artist is a thorny one. I'll tell you that. Thorny. You have to see the big picture. There'll be bad times and good times. Things are like they are. It'll be all right, even... You might now think that it's oh so wonderful and easy, but how far would you have gotten without me? I won't always be there for you. Literally, from my perspective, this looks to be the only thing you ever actually, quote-unquote, did for her. And at no point did you ever even seem to consider the possibility that she didn't want it in the first place. Maybe she doesn't want to be a big artist with the connections and the influence and all the bullcrap that comes with this. Maybe it's completely not in something even comprehensible to her. Maybe she doesn't care. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever considered that she just doesn't care? Then maybe she just paints because she needs to, not because it's something that... my brain... I don't know, hopefully something here makes sense. I wish I could understand and explain why his words are making me so mad. When you lie on the floor of your minuscule room you rent 3 weeks late, your mind blank for the 4th week straight, then you'll wish that you'd listened to old Nomiya a bit more. When you keep measuring how the shadow of your chair becomes longer over the spring because that's all your lethargy allows, maybe that's when you'll start caring about your career. It doesn't matter. Your resolve is not enough. I'm not a resolved person. You're not a resolved person. Whoa! Then tell me why. Why did I go through all this trouble if it amounts to mosquitoes crap? Oh dear, the teacher blew a fuse. Him yelling at Rin makes me feel bystander's guilt. If I'd gone with her, maybe he wouldn't have gotten so angry. It's of my opinion that Nomiya mostly did all of this because he felt like it was something that he was supposed to do, basically. He knew he had an exceptionally talented student, so he pulled all these strings and made all these calls and did all of these things for Rin, expecting the exact same kind of response that you would get from most people in that situation. I don't think he understands who Rin is as a person enough to understand that it's not something she was all that interested in to begin with. I think the idea that somebody as talented as Rin could not want what he was providing is so unthinkable for him that it's driving him absolutely batty. In a way, I feel like maybe what he's doing is similar to what Hisao is doing, except Hisao is at least making an honest attempt at trying to understand and comprehend Rin's wants and desires. Whereas he's just looking at it strictly from the perspective of, art students that are good should want this. Why are you not doing this right? Nothing makes sense. He's just confused and irritated, and he's exploding at her in his confusion of who she is as a person, like Hisao did. Only to a much harsher and more arbitrary degree, in a way that I just don't feel like is beneficial for anybody. Rin's explosion was also not great. Hisao's explosion at Rin wasn't a good thing either. But I feel like it at least came from a place that actually... At least it came from a guy who was trying to make an attempt in himself, to look down inside of himself to understand somebody. I feel like Hisao is looking at something that's... He's looking at like a puzzle and is trying to solve it. Whereas Nomiya is more like, he's looking at like a broken device. And instead of trying to understand what it is, what it does, or what it's used for, he just kind of kicks it, expecting it to do what it's supposed to do, and wondering why that it's not doing it. and is just getting mad about the fact that it's not doing that. Like a malfunctioning electronic or something. Like maybe a remote. I don't know. I'm just trying to make my points make some semblance of sense. If I'd not let her run away, he wouldn't have gotten angry in the first place. I still could go and save her. I don't think I can. I was the same. I yelled at Rin too, yeah. And I'm feeling all the more embarrassed about it now. I felt justified to vent my anger at her face just because I felt it was her fault that I was so frustrated. I was no more justified than the teacher is. A terrible silence sets upon the hallway. Rin does not have anything to say to Nomiya. Whether if she's run out of answers or she knows that arguing would only make him angrier is anyone's guess. The teacher has nothing more to say either, it seems. Or maybe he just ran out of breath. For a moment I imagine the two of them just staring at each other, one full of red-hot anger and the other full of... yes, what? I can't tell how Rin feels. Not before and not now. Teacher seems to expect Rin to say something too, but since she doesn't, he finally continues in a quieter but no less angry voice. What worth is there in doing so much work if the outcome is nothing? Still, Rin will not say anything. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have gotten so excited. He doesn't sound sorry at all. Rather, his tone is cold and sharp, like he was spitting the words out of his mouth. It seems that I was expecting too much. You're not an artist after all. Yeah, not sorry at all. He storms out of the club room and down the stairs without noticing me. After he's gone, I peek carefully inside the classroom. Rin is left standing there in front of the teacher's desk. I couldn't say I'm sorry. She says it to the humid air of the classroom, not to me. But since the room won't answer her, I'll have to. That was unfair of him. He was angry, but still. I can't decide how to end my sentence. Disdaining the teacher feels like disdaining my own behavior from 2 days ago. Stupid, but correct in hindsight. Rin won't answer, staying petrified where she stands, so I walk up to her. She had stood up for herself. In a way, I didn't expect that. I can't determine whether it's unbecoming or not, but either way, she did it. Against me, she never did. I sort of wish she had. Maybe I'd not feel this bad, that's true. Rin stood her ground against him. But against Hisao, she seemed genuinely very much emotionally affected by it. Lately, it really seems that I've been wishing for all kinds of things. Rin? Go away. What? Oh boy, what are you saying? You're angry with me too, right? I thought you were my friend. I thought he was too. Her voice isn't like I've ever heard it. It's bitter, sharp like needles, and she keeps staring pointedly at her toes. I don't think it's about that. He wanted you to be something you're not, and take a deep breath and finally catch your eyes in my own, locking our gazes. I'm sorry. I wanted us to be something else too. More than friends. Maybe that's why I couldn't contain myself and became so frustrated, just like the teacher did. What more? There's nothing more to me than me. That's all I am. I don't understand that. Well, the answer should be obvious, right? I remember myself thinking of the purpose of friendship, to put up with everything and anything to be there for your friend. Did I fail as a friend, thinking it could be a stepping stone for something else? Maybe because of those thoughts, I didn't manage to put up with things to keep it together. As outrageous as Rin is and was, I shouldn't have let myself get caught into that. Especially when I started feeling the way I did towards her. So did I fail? That's what her eyes seemed to ask. I'm sorry, Rin. I might not be able to be your friend. I don't think I could ever be a good friend to you. Oh, this hurts my stomach a lot. I say these things because they're true, not because one of us would like to hear them. But there's something that must be said. The finality of my words creates a shaking silence. For what could either of us add to that? Why? Why does all this happen? People are doing things I don't ask for and don't want, and everyone keeps getting angry at me. I have no idea what's going on anymore, and I can't stop feeling like I want to run away from everything. She shuts her eyes tight and breathes out deeply, calmly. When the eyelids open, all I can see is dark green desperation. I have no idea what's wrong with me. Her frantic outburst stupefies me for a moment, and for a heartbeat, we just gaze into each other's face. Seeing her confused eyes desperately looking for answers from mine only makes me sad because I know I have none. I don't know either. But you know, you yourself said that things are not right nor wrong. They just are. You either accept them, work to change them, or give up. It's not that I hate you, or that Teacher Nomiya does. I just think that I'm the kind of person who gives up when he feels he can't go on. And even if you hate it, this is how things are. I'm saying pretty cruel things, but I can't stop myself. The words keep rolling off my tongue with slow, hard certainty. I can see them hitting Rin almost like physical blows. As the wetness gathers into the corners of her eyes, they're still wide with the shock of rejection. I am in deep pain right now. As the tears start rolling down her pale cheeks, she does nothing to stop them. As they fall down on the floor one by one, she stands still, staring at me with a gaze full of hollow disbelief. But reality catches up. Rin slumps forward as if she was deflating and buries her face as deep in my shirt as she can. Rin is heavy and feather-light when I support her weight. She doesn't really sob or bawl. She just leans against me, letting her tears burn through my shirt into the skin underneath. And I let her, bringing my hand around her shoulders in a clumsy hug that does no good to comfort her. I can feel Rin's vertebrae against my fingertips, like hard and jagged reminders of how messed up things are. Her slim shoulder quivering against my palm is a pitiable sight, and the hopelessness of being part of the cause for Rin's sadness keeps shredding my heart. To make a girl cry is the most despicable thing to do. Even Rin. Especially Rin. Behind that veil of aloofness, Rin is just a human being too. Just as confused, scared, and lost as any of us is. Most of the time, it seems that there's no rhyme or reason for what Rin does and says, but for once, I think I really understand how she feels. But no words can express it, and no words can make it better. So wordless we stay, quietly waiting for her tears to run out. Time passes agonizingly slowly. Even the lazy specks of dust floating in the air seem to pause into a standstill. The obligatory wall clock is ticking distractingly from above the door. I decide against counting the seconds because it would make them feel longer. Eventually, Rin stirs a little and, still smothering herself against my chest, mutters into my shirt. Let me be here for a while. Please, Hisao. Just give me a little while. A soothing deluge spreads into my consciousness. The knowledge that while being here for Rin is all I can do for her. That's all she wants right now, even after all we've gone through. It reminds me of the conversation that we had back on the day of the festival. Rin just... When Hisao asked what Rin... when Rin asked Hisao what... I'm sorry. When Hisao asked Rin what he could do for her, Rin just said, just be. At the time, I felt like that was an interesting thing to say. And I've been thinking about that phrase a lot. Maybe sometimes that really is just the best thing that you can do, you know? Just be. Sure. So she stays there. But I still can't bring myself to draw her closer so I could embrace her properly. It's because doing it would just make me so sad that I don't know if I could bear it. The realization that we might never really be able to become what we want to be for the other crystallizes into my mind as a diamond-hard enlightenment. A pang surges through my heart like an electrical shock. It's painful. This clarity hurts. What can we be for each other? What meaning is there for us to desperately cling to each other even though it seems so futile? What should I say to Rin? How can I make her feel better? I do not know any of those things, and I fear knowing them would only hurt more. Forcefully, I push all of that out of my mind because I don't want to be thinking of hateful truths. My thoughts calm down soon enough. The sadness disperses until all that's left is me and Rin, and the tender feeling of her warmth and softness against my chest. When did I fall in love with her? I can't remember, but I'm certain it was way before the warm touch of her lips on my own, or that orange-colored afternoon when she was sick with cold and I went to see her because of unclear reasons. Her carefree attitude, the air of otherness around her, all the things that make Rin herself, those things captured me with an irresistible force. The way she could take in anything and everything, giving it only the value she herself placed, weighing all things fairly and without prejudice, seeing the world as she wanted. This is something I could never do, and Rin was probably more of a muse to me than anything ever was to her. She seemed so free to me, truly a free spirit, while I, constantly worrying about everything, seemed so inhibited that it was almost embarrassing. Maybe that's why I latched so tightly onto Rin, trying to get inside her world that was so different from my own bleak life. Before I noticed it, that irresistible force had pulled me dangerously close to her, but it turned out to be way too alien for me, and I'd forgotten Newton of all things. The gravitational force is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between the objects. So if two people feel something for each other, even though feelings are not governed by the constants of the universe, I can't help thinking that for some time now I've been a satellite to Rin's brightly shining planet. Planet Rin. The thought makes me almost laugh. She really does seem to be from another planet at times. Minus green skin and possibly some tentacles. Perhaps because of my stifled laughter, Rin pulls away and I let her go, feeling the cold when her warmth goes away and slight embarrassment for letting my thoughts run wild like that. I credit that as Rin being a bad influence on me, while being glad at the same time that she can't read thoughts for real. Rin's bitter tears have dried up, and she looks a little more like herself again. The lost look in her eyes is still there, though. Her gaze wanders around restlessly before stopping at me. What happened just now? Can you tell me? Well, what do you mean? I cried. She says that hesitantly, as if not believing it herself. Yes. She keeps staring at me, as if pleading guidance so that she wouldn't have to feel so lost. Why? You were sad. Is that what you want me to say? But isn't that obvious? I don't know. It feels weird to cry. What? I don't believe it. I mean, everyone does that. It's I bite my tongue before I finish my argument about normality. Norms do not apply to the person I'm talking to. It always felt so wrong. Different from what is in me. Like I couldn't really tell what I felt. So I started thinking that maybe I don't know what I'm feeling. Maybe it's me who was wrong? I thought those kinds of things. I thought that painting was enough because it felt that I did at least that right. That's all that's inside me could become a picture if I tried really hard. And it could. But it doesn't feel like it's enough anymore. Because if nobody else can see that, I'll still be alone. Was it wrong to try? Everyone got really angry at me for that. I rarely heard Rin say this much at once before. Once she finishes, she simply shuts up, looking so neutral that it's hard to believe she just said what she did. I don't know what to think. Rin was desperate for someone to look at her paintings and somehow see right through them into her soul, to understand her feelings, because she felt she could not express them in any other way. I think I might have been onto something. How can one say whether that is right or wrong? Could it be that all this time she'd been trying to reach out to me like I've tried to reach out to her? That was the impression I got. I sit down on a desk to think and to rest my legs that kept us both standing for a long while. You know, when I read a good book or look at a starry sky or whatever, sometimes I too feel something profound. Like I don't know how to describe it. But the instant I try to put it into words, I feel that I lose something. It doesn't feel as real, as true as it did inside my head. It feels a bit phony. Damn, even what I just said felt phony. I offer a smile that is meant to be between funny and self-deprecating, but Rin doesn't react. Anyway, it might be that nobody can ever express their true feelings so that others understand. Reality has no chance of living up to what someone has inside their head. Nothing can match that. Not even your paintings, except maybe for you. But I suppose you can't keep everything inside. You'd explode for real then. What I'm trying to say is, I don't think it's wrong to express your feelings, even if you use paintings as your conduit. You just can't expect people to understand you any better than they would if you did it any other way. In fact, you can't expect people to understand you at all. It's because everything is so subjective. You see the world the way you do, but it's different from everyone else. But isn't that terrible? I guess it is in a way. She frowns, looking probably as stricken as she can, which is not much, but it's enough for me to understand that Rin is not particularly happy. I think it might make me sad after all. Yeah, I know. I wish I could do something to help it. I don't think I sound better, even though I am a little. This is my problem. I cannot be what Rin wants for her, and for the same reason, she can't do the same for me either. She makes a difficult face, carefully trying to pick the words she wants to say. So Rin has times when it's hard to say anything too. It can't be helped, I think. But if you say that, it makes me feel a little better. It's funny how some seemingly irrelevant things are the most significant ones at times like this. Like how Rin's voice is very, very small, barely audible when she says that. And how even her short bangs can cover her eyes when she looks downwards. And how they can't cover the deep red color rising on her cheeks and all the way to the tips of her ears. They turn into a very interesting shade of red. A deafening silence follows. It's very awkward, as if I saw something that wasn't meant to be seen, even if it wasn't on purpose. I don't know what to say to that, but I keep feeling like I should know. She doesn't know either. Still, it feels like there's no momentum to lose, even if we keep silent. Like we have some weird, wordless connection that would hold even so. Rin keeps shifting her weight from one foot to the other restlessly, looking everywhere around the room except at me. She's the one who finally breaks the spell. Can we go? I don't want to stay here. Oh yeah, of course. Where? My reply is covering my nervousness as badly as her questioning is covering hers. You can go wherever you like. I want to sleep. I haven't really slept for a few weeks. Feels like there's a flock of light blue butterflies inside my head. Makes it hard to think properly. The kind that you think is too blue to really exist. Like Emmy's panties this morning, I guess. She did a little shimmy shake. She shakes her head, and I almost expect a couple of ultramarine-colored morphos to pop out of her ears. A smile tugs upwards the corners of her mouth. That reminds me. The blue, not the panties. The word for a flock of butterflies is a swarm. I looked it up. Of course you did. That makes my eyebrow rise into a questioning arch. Why don't you use it then? I like the other word better. Why look it up in the first place then? Then you should use it, right? She nods and falls silent, her gaze escaping mine to the side, attracted by the dark orange sunlight refracting from the windows. We stay like that for a little while, me silently looking at her, silently looking out of the window. Hey, you all right now? She glances at me from the corner of her eye, looking wistful again. The sunlight's reflection doesn't betray any more of her inner feelings. I'll need to think about that. I want to continue this conversation, grasping at those straws that she finally revealed even exist. But Rin is looking out of the window so absent-mindedly that I know she won't be responsive in any way that would make sense. It's like some kind of defense mechanism of hers to avoid being sensible. Her mind is like a butterfly in itself, always fluttering somewhere away whenever it's stirred. Just when I thought I could see behind her veil, she jumps out of my reach again. Maybe that's just how Rin is. Maybe that's something I should just accept to get some peace of mind. Okay. I'll walk you back to your dorms, okay? Thanks. Really. The empty hallways of the school, devoid of its students, feel very lonely. Less than 1 hour after the summer vacation began, this building seems to be deserted, And all that intrudes on the stillness of the hallways are our footsteps. The change is sudden, but it shows how the building is just an empty shell, dead without its students and teachers. It's as though the school has become a private world for only the two of us, a desolate place filled with silence and chalk dust. I think I have to change. She says it out of the blue while we walk down the stairs from the 3rd floor, still managing to feel like she's mirroring what I was thinking just before. And that's what people must do sometimes. That's the last thing we say to each other that day, even though there would be so much more to talk about. Even though those words drown in the all-encompassing silence, disappearing into the stagnant air as if they were never said. I think things are on the up. I don't think anything is irreparably damaged. That's good. The first day of summer vacation is a disappointment. I woke up. Water came down from the leaden sky in biblical proportions. I was optimistic at the time. A quick summer shower, I thought. Torrents of rain for a few moments, then it's gone. No such luck. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The sound of rain is a very soothing one to me. Rainwater is relentlessly pouring down from the blue-gray sky outside, streaming down the glass of my window in small brooks and rivers and gathering together to form miniature ponds on the walkways, just like it had been doing for the past 2.5 hours. So I've been half-assedly cleaning up in between half-assedly reading a book, packing my stuff on the side when I get bored of the first two. The weather drags my spirits pretty down too, making it harder to do anything properly. Something bumping quite loudly against my door rouses me from my apathy. I hope it's not Kenji and his crazy indoors bowling alley. I hear no more sounds from the corridor until I walk to the door and open it. Rin. I wish seeing her would invoke some more emotion in me, but for one, I'm too surprised that she came to see me, and for two, she's soaking wet. Well, I mean, it's not like she can use an umbrella. Her uniform shirt is drenched, and she's standing in a self-created puddle. Droplets of rainwater are dripping from her short bangs and sliding down her nose until they fall down from the tip. One by one. Hi. How are you feeling? Medium normal. It's been a while since we've heard this. The relative questionability of her statement aside, she sure doesn't look too good. You're all wet. It's because I come from the outside. Do you know it? Why'd you be outside? It's raining buckets out there if you hadn't noticed. I haven't. It's raining pretty hard though. I was on a walk. Is that what you call wallowing in self-pity? Do you think I'm pitiful? No, I implied that you think you are. I'm not, and rain is not a sad thing. Hey, Rin thinks so too. Don't you ever walk in the rain? I do all the time! I do, but only with proper equipment like an umbrella. You just need to imagine you have a blue umbrella with white stripes. It might be tough when rain is falling on your head. Just imagine harder. Yeah, she's definitely back to normal. Those half-sarcastic, inconsiderate remarks that really push my buttons even though she doesn't mean it. The vacant, spaced-out stare that always expects more than it gives. It's so very much like her. I may need to come in. I need some help with this water and clothes I'm wearing. My brain quickly solves this equation and I stumble with my words. A stark display of contrast against Rin's easygoing self-invitation. But, Emmy... Rin shakes her head vehemently, causing water to sprinkle everywhere. She left. Besides, she would just worry and fuss until she could not worry or fuss anymore, which always takes a troublesomely long time. It is in fact longer than I want to hear fussing, and I thought you probably are not the fussing kind. She slumps down on my desk with a squishy sound. Her soaked clothes are making the desk and everything on it wet, but she doesn't care. Okay, fine, I'll help you out. I have a towel somewhere. Do you want dry clothes? Is a uniform fine? I'm taller than you, but everything is fine. With a little searching, I find a fresh uniform and a fluffy towel from the depths of my closet. The towel in one hand and the uniform on the other, I turn to face Rin again, uncertain of the next step. There's something wrong with me. A normal guy would just, whoop, stop worrying, it's not a problem. She could probably see right through my hesitant demeanor, as if I was completely transparent to her. I push my anxiety away and concentrate on the 8 buttons lined on her shirt, just like mine has. Only the first button is an obstacle, and after getting into that, I undo the others with slightly less shaky hands. Throwing the soaked shirt aside, I reveal Rin's pale upper body, shrouded only in her light blue brassiere, which instantly reminds me of her saying it's her favorite color. I try not to think too much about stuff, but it's hard not to look at her body with what I can only think of as mixed feelings. This is the first time I've actually seen where her arms end. I don't know what to think of this, so I just watch her. Rin looks brittle. She's like a shell, a fragile thing just barely holding together. Her ribs, each of them visible under her pale skin, are moving up and down in the rhythm of her breaths. Rin always struck me as quite thin, but I realize now that the manic creative period before the exhibition opening might have caused her to lose weight. Did she eat properly and enough? Definitely not, and probably not. This ugly yet beautiful bare minimum of a human body that belongs to someone I care about is a contradiction of aesthetics in itself. Oddly becoming of her. My eyes follow her collarbone to her shoulder and down her arm until the abrupt end. No, it's less than the bare minimum. I think with a passing pang of sadness and some guilt for thinking like that. Her arms, degenerated into almost nothing but bone and skin due to lack of use, look very short now that the long sleeves of her uniform are not covering them. My lack of any negative reaction makes me think that I've actually grown pretty accustomed of the various physical abnormalities of my schoolmates. I always wondered why Rin kept her shirt sleeves long, only tying them into a simple knot at where the elbows would be. It seems a bit impractical, but then again, she's not exactly the pinnacle of practicality. Maybe she likes it. Maybe it's somehow important to her. Maybe there's no deeper meaning to it. I feel like asking and almost do, but Rin's miserable state requires a higher priority of my attention. She stopped talking too after we ran out of spiky greetings. I guess there's no need for chit-chat then. I pick up the towel from the bed and wrap it around her head, rumpling it all over her hair until most of the rainwater is hopefully soaked into the fabric. You know, at the start of this, I did say I wanted to ruffle her hair at one point, didn't I? She peeks from below the towel at me, looking up with impassive eyes. Looks like she wants to say something without saying it. It's that kind of look. But I can't read what she's thinking about from her face, so I just keep on fussing with the towel around her shoulders and hair. The silence is oppressive, terrifying. Communication between us has suddenly been reduced to the movements of my hands on the towel, and Rin is swaying her body to and fro. My jagged breathing and her quiet breaths trying to find a common rhythm that just is not there. I think I can hear her heartbeats, or maybe they're just mine redoubled. As I brush a rogue strand of her hair aside from her ear, Rin suddenly presses her cheek against the back of my hand. The contact is an electric, a jolt of current surging through me. Whether she seeks comfort, warmth, or just my touch, I wouldn't know, but I can't help touching her back, pressing her soft cheek with my hand. And with closed eyes, she kisses me on the fingers, counting the joints with her lips. I'm saddened beyond my expressive capability. Here we are, a boy and a girl, both in love or something like that with each other, or maybe not, and yet something is broken. I can feel it in me and in Rin, in the way our gazes merely brush against each other, shying away from contact, in her closed, timid posture and in my way of touching her like a china doll, afraid of shattering her delicate form. And how we are closer than we've ever been, yet I'm not feeling happy. It's like yesterday. When did tenderness and forlongness become one and the same in the word? Acts of affection start invoking only longing. How? Why did we end up like this? No, don't answer that, I'd like to say to myself, but fighting against the omniscience of our self-awareness is a lost cause. Still, I am here, and Rin is here, and it feels like she might be able to solve whatever problem she has. And if she can, why couldn't I? Why couldn't we? It feels like taking that step is too much, too difficult, too uncertain. So for now, all I can do is dry her up so she won't get a cold again. I pet her head, trying to sort out the hair that refuses to be sorted out even when wet. A pair of dark glazed eyes follows my every movement. Pants too? She nods in answer, leans back and spreads her legs with a grotesquely inviting gesture that makes a nasty feeling crawl up and down my spine like a bad premonition. It's not enough to sober me, though, as the silence is starting to make me feel detached from myself. I move automatically without thinking, even though I should. I should talk to her about this, or at least about something. The silence is a spell, a pact that has bound us to this private world made of the dull sound of rainfall and the soft feel of her skin against my fingers. The buttons of her trousers is fastened tight, but it opens surprisingly easily. Slipping them off is hard. Mostly because she's sitting on them with no intention of standing up to ease my task. I kneel down uncomfortably and titillatingly between her legs so I can quickly dry her bare feet, remembering that they are important to her as hands are to me. As I work the towel up from her ankles, Rin brushes her thigh against my cheek and nudges the small of my back with her heel to make me come closer. I look up to meet her silent stare that was waiting for me to look back up. That unassuming, expectant stare seems to say that the ball is in my court. I fleetingly brush my hand against her inner thigh. I like to think I've gotten better in situations like this. The touch makes me gasp sharply, as if she was trying to hold back breathing. What if I do this, then? I can do this. The small kiss I place on her thigh is enough to make Rin lose her composure, to shut her eyes, to squeal almost inaudibly. Is this what you want to? Would it be all right now to take this step? What if... maybe if... Hazy thoughts flow somewhere in the back of my unfocused mind. Somehow this whole situation is making it hard to think, as if my head was full of cotton fluff. That's alright, it seems thinking is not something we need right now. The cantaloupe of intercourse has arrived once again. Good day, cantaloupe. That's probably not a cantaloupe. Present. Present is a fleeting and vague concept at best. The moment between the past and the future? That doesn't really mean anything. I've never heard the time-passing song longer before. Thinking too much about things that don't make sense is a waste of time. That's why living through the present is always the best option. Besides, for us who can't foresee the future and who forget the past too easily, present is really the only proof of our existence. Even though existence will go on, even if you forget about it for a while, it's good to seize that day at least every once in a while. That way you can confirm that you are, in fact, alive. I'm pretty sure that the girl who was standing there half naked staring out of the window of my room has a much better grasp of present than I do. As for me, well, right now I'm somewhat confused by my present state since I should try to locate my shirt and not stare at Rin's butt. But I just can't stop looking at her. She's so close to the glass that her nose is probably going to leave a mark. At least her breathing does when it condenses on the rain-cooled window glass before quickly disappearing again. My shuffling around to get dressed doesn't rouse Rin from her contemplation, which is fine, really. I don't mind the silence as much as I used to. Only after I'm almost finished with buttoning up my shirt does Rin say something, still without turning to look at me. Let's go somewhere. Where? I can only assume she's inviting me and not the windowsill, but it's a fair guess. I know. What? Help me get dressed. I think today is the day. Come on, clothes. Clothes, clothes. What an impatient tone. I crouched down to pick up her bra from the floor where it had fallen, discarded in the haste of undressing and forgotten there. Hanging it from between my fingers like a dead fish, the same hesitation that grasped me when I was undressing Rin is creeping inside my head again. Is intimacy really something that this difficult for me to handle? I know it is for me! Come on. You got it off just fine. It's the same thing, but the other way around. It's like talking backwards. Yes, I see it. Yep, dop, schnup, sneeze. Perplexed by her sudden and prodigious display of mental processing capacity, I forget to attempt reversing her gibberish back. I'm pretty sure I couldn't switch to talking backwards that fluidly, even with some practice. Could you repeat that? Yes, it's yep, dra, smis. Or seems hard, but it's easy. Got it. Fine, I'll give it a try. Lynn was right. The locking mechanism is simple enough, and I get the little plastic hooks right on the third attempt. There. Tit, sajut, yep, what done. Or, now you have to adjust it. What? Please stop that, I don't speak backwardese. She shakes her head as if needing to banish the backwards way of thinking with a physical gesture. I know a few people who could benefit from that kind of ability. I got stuck, now you have to adjust it. Adjust. That's what I said. No, I asked what you meant. You know, so that they are fine. Oh, fine, you say. That is definitely one word you could use to describe them, sure. As I have no idea when her breasts are supposed to be fine. And fumbling around her chest for a good while without really getting anywhere. Not that I would complain, but Rin does. Emmy is better than you than at this. Well, she also has them, so I feel like she has a better idea. Her impatient tone ticks me off, even though I can't really disagree. Rin suddenly seems to be in an awful hurry. Well, excuse me. Could that be because she's a girl and can actually relate? I don't think so. She has about just as much chest as you do. I know for a fact that that's not true. Also, kind of rude. Don't ask how I know. It's another universe, okay? With bra and breasts eventually fine as they should. Ugh. This game has really been a trial by fire ground for me. The rest of her clothes are considerably easier to put on. Rin launches towards the door, even though her shirt is not even buttoned up all the way yet. Left with little choice, I run after her, hopefully with an umbrella. Oh, as soon as I realize that we're heading for the side entrance leading to the forest, I think I know where Rin wanted to go, although I couldn't say why she'd want to go there. Then again, I can't really assume my guess is to be anywhere near correct when Rin is concerned, not even for quite a generous definition of correct. The forest behind the walls smells of rain. The last raindrops are still dripping from the wet undergrowth into the earth, despite the rain being gone for a while already. We stroll along with an unhurried pace that Rin sets, giving me time to take in the calming atmosphere. I think I can hear Rin saying hello to at least 3 different trees while she walks past them, but I ignore it, just like the trees do. You don't know that they don't acknowledge it. They're just trees, man. She leads me to the narrow path leading up to the hilltops, so I guessed. I peek through the canopy trying to find a rainbow, but there doesn't seem to be one. It's perfect weather for rainbows. The sun is shining low and rain has passed not too long ago. Oh boy, hang on. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. It's perfect weather for rainbows. The sun is shining low and rain has passed not too long ago. I fumbled with my mouse too much and I thought I might have skipped something. Well, whatever. I lower my eyes from the treetops as I pause the game again to see the gaunt back of the girl who is climbing up the hill slowly without losing her balance. A few steps ahead of me on the path, but still within my reach. I don't think I could ever reach a rainbow, but reaching Rin seems less impossible than it used to seem. The clear sky greeting us from above the meadows clearly seems vast and beautiful. A strong wind is hurting the rain clouds away from the town to the other side of the mountains in the distance. The sight is pretty, but a speck of white flies past the edge of my peripheral vision, but when I turn to look, it's already gone. Dandelion. Another follows, then a third. Before I realize it, dozens of almost invisible small tufts of white are flying all around us. Look, the flowers. Well, I see it now. The sea of dandelions that cover the hilltop on our last visit have changed over the days. Where there were bright yellow before, there's now fluffy white. Some of the flowers have already shed their seeds, but many are still waiting for a suitable gust of wind. Today, those gusts are not in a short demand. Every now and then, they shake the grass thoroughly, and suddenly the air is thick with dandelion seeds. One by one, the seeds separate from the flower heads and are lifted away. A commonplace event, but one that seems to fascinate Rin for some reason. She's turning her head from side to side, marveling at the change happening all around her as the seeds fly away. I watch them too, following the white tufts floating with the winds towards the horizon, and imagine that I can see them even after they disappear from my sight. Isao? What is it? Do you love me? I snap to attention to meet her suddenly very serious face that is not looking only at the flowers anymore. What a tough question. Asked just like that out of the blue. Still, her bluntness compels me to answer rapidly. I don't know. Maybe I do. Maybe too rapidly. What does that mean? I don't know. Rin sighs, perhaps unhappy with my wishy-washy answer. I would be too. Me neither. I don't think I know much about love. That's fine, isn't it? How should I know? The shrug of her shoulders seems to say, hesitating to give a firm answer. She stays silent for only a second too long, but even that second isn't long enough for me to think ahead. I love you. Those 3 words freeze me in place like a rabbit staring into headlights, but I'm not a rabbit and I'm just staring into Rin's eyes that seem far, far too impassive for what she just let out of her mouth. Rin looks pretty serious, though, until she sticks out her tongue, frowns a little, and confuses me even more than her words did. Why does she look mildly unhappy? Probably because you botched a confession, dumbass. Was it a confession of her deepest feelings? A test to see how I would react? A test to see how she would react? It tastes weird. Tastes? Yeah, so weird. She laughs, maybe nervously or so. I want to think, but stops midway when she notices how strange it sounds. Like, I don't know what don't think there's a word for this. Rin keeps on talking as though there was no meaning behind her words. Steady and careless words dropping from the same tongue that formed the more impatient ones. A word for, except, it's like, she can't find the words. Rin just keeps staring at me, stumbling with her words as if her brain suddenly ground to a halt. She looks awfully confused, much like how I feel right now as I wait for her to explain. But she doesn't. She just blinks a few times, the flutter of her long lashes catching my fancy because she looks like she's petrified otherwise. Until I realize what they were fighting against. It's those weird tears again. Not associated with happiness or sadness, not pitiable sobbing nor laughter of joy. Just tears. Spontaneous and without a warning. Like the one time in her classroom. Just a few of them. Not enough to make a fuss about, so Rin doesn't make a move to hide them even after noticing. Rin cries, looking like she has no idea why, and somehow a great uneasiness grows in my chest when I look into her watery eyes that stare right back at me. It petrifies me too, the shock of the incomprehensibility of the situation. I just don't know what is happening anymore. Rin, what's wrong? She shakes her head in confusion, stumbling to get the words out of her mouth. Sorry. I might be a little afraid of you. The words are muttered slowly, with a small voice that is disbelieving of what it's saying as I am. What? Why? I don't know. Saying that just made me feel like that. People cry when they're afraid, right? See, I can do it too. She's averting her gaze now, deliberately not looking at me. It bewilders me, at least as much as what she is saying. I sometimes with you want to run away so badly, but I can't move. It's like my legs turn into lemon panna cotta pudding and my heart feels like it's gonna explode, and she slumps her shoulders melancholically. Has a thing like this ever happened to you? I remember the leaden sky above the frozen forest and the sound of the leafless branching clacking against each other. It's like a memory from another life. Yeah, once. My heart hurt a lot back then too. But I thought your thing was not contagious. I shake my head and a tiny, slightly forced smile rises on my lips. The other ailment of my heart could very well be contagious, and I wouldn't care a bit. What are you afraid of? I never thought I was scary. Rin shakes her head desperately, as if knowing that this tangle inside her mind won't be undone with just that. You make me feel that I should be someone else than me. It's a scary thing. It happens when you're being nice to me, like yesterday. I never know what to do at times like that. It's hard. Her voice is barely audible, a whispered admission of something that is too embarrassing to even think, not to mention to say aloud. Rin has never been one to be embarrassed, so she does utter it aloud only timidly as if by instinct. But I want to do something, but I don't know if this me can. For a moment we just stare at each other as if waiting for the other to say something. You're so stupid. Rin's lips taste salty and scared against mine. As I grasp into her into an embrace, I feel my heart thumping in my chest painfully. Even though I'm glad that she can say things like that, they make me sad after all. Rin's spirit, her passion, her strength, all those things that I hold dear are the ones I don't want to change. How should I treat them? Where are they headed to? Is that future irrevocably different from mine? The anxiety will never lose its grip on my heart, but I think I could learn to live with it. Slowly, the pain in my heart dies out, and it settles into the same rhythm as Rin's. We listen to that for some time. After our lips break apart, it takes a while for either of us to realize that we can say something now. See? You're a really kind person even when you're not. It's the most scariest thing ever. I think that all I was ever afraid of is your kindness. Is it bad? Even if you're afraid? She thinks about this for a while, furrowing her brows as though this was some kind of hard math problem. No, I'm all right with it. It's fine if it's you. Like a weight lifted from my chest, her words elate my heart, filling it with, I don't know, happiness? What else could it be? This time my smile is genuine. Rin steps back, still smiling gently at me like I do at her. While she wipes her face on her shoulder, I pick up a round, plump dandelion clock and bring it to my pursed lips. Poof. They spread out into the wind that picks them up to carry them to a new home. To think only a few short weeks ago they were so different. This is change. Hey, so the flowers became what they were meant to become, like you said the last time. What about you? Did you become a true artist? Or did you not because you ran away? She pauses for a while to ponder my question, and shrugs her shoulders. It almost makes me laugh. The carefree easiness of her gesture is a lovely thing, a sign of how Rin can, truly and really without any restraints whatsoever, shed the entire weight of the world from her shoulders should she will so. She is, in every possible and probably a few impossible ways, free. And I think I might love her for that. I don't think it matters. Let's just watch the clouds for today. She takes 5 steps to climb on a large rock so she can rise as high as it's possible here and stands on tiptoes. When you reach for the clouds, every inch counts. Sure, let's watch the clouds. It's good to do something you really want to do every now and then. Yeah, you were probably right. I glance upwards at the blue sky opening high above us. It's a deep, cerulean vastness that spreads to fill my entire field of vision and beyond. Yet Rin stays on her rock, peering at the distant horizon where the rain clouds are drifting farther away from us. I've decided something. That dreaming voice of hers, spoken to the wind that carries it to my ears, is lacking resolve and tone, but it is full of meaning. It's all right to be me after all. It's all right? Her decisions always seem to be pretty far out. Well, I suppose this is an important realization. Coming to terms with oneself, accepting yourself, being fine with what you are. A simple resolution of heart that for some people is overbearingly hard to do, if not impossible. I do realize well enough that I might also be one of those people. Rin, too. Maybe we're not that different after all. Maybe to accept someone else, you must first accept yourself. Maybe that's a necessary step, which we didn't take until now. Looking at her standing on the rock, I believe that she can find whatever it is she's looking for. And so can I. The wind catches her hair and clothes, and Rin spreads her short arms into an embrace that is so very, very tiny, but as wide as she can ever do. For a moment, it looks like she herself might take flight, and I have to hold myself back to not reach for her shoulder to not drag her back to me. But this picture is something I can only watch. It's something for me to remember. Rin's sleeves are flapping freely in the wind, her hair wildly tousled by it, her skin touched by the setting sun. Her sleek form that I've come to adore is quivering in the cool wind that carries the small white specks past her, each a beginning of a new flower. All that is engraved inside my heart. Like those tiny seeds scattered into the wind, I'm sure that Rin too can take her place in this world without the need to create her own inside of it. Maybe she believes it too. And standing as close to heaven as possible, she's giving the world a big hug. To me, it seems like the entire world really could fit there, between those small arms of hers, inside of her all-encompassing embrace. Hisao? She looks at me in the same way she calls my name, carelessly over her shoulder with a strange happiness in her voice and in her eyes. I gaze into those mysterious dark eyes that are curiously twinkling from below her auburn hair. Although I'm too far for her to see it, I'm sure they are reflecting my image. What is it? What's the word for when it feels inside your heart that everything in the world is all right? Wow. Wow. I knew going in that this was gonna be a trip and a half. Man, oh man, oh man. I find it interesting that Rin's story, her conflicts, her strifes, and her struggles basically had absolutely nothing to do with her arms. Also, that was a butt. It was really more about communication and a conflict of self. I don't know what the common consensus for each of these routes is, but I feel like Rin's is going to stick with me for a good long while. This was a really good one, guys. Just one left. I'll see you then.